Okay, this is the review for your test on quadratics. I really hope you watch it and pay attention and take it all in, because I'm going to tell you how to do everything that's going to be on your test. The first thing you have to recognize is that these two functions are in vertex form. So identifying the vertex and the axis of symmetry should be very simple. It's simply the opposite of the number in the parentheses and the same as the number outside. So your vertex here is 2, 6. Remember, the axis of symmetry is x equals, and it always equals the x value of your vertex. So there's your axis of symmetry. The reason that is because x equals a number is a vertical line, and your parabola is symmetrical at the vertex. So if the line that goes through the vertex is the axis of symmetry. Max or min just means the value is the vertex, and you just have to say, is it a minimum? Well, it's a minimum when this leading coefficient is positive, and it's a maximum when this leading coefficient is negative. So this here is a minimum. The domain for all quadratics is all real numbers, which we abbreviate like that. The range has to do with the y value of your vertex. So if you think about this graph, my vertex is at 2, 6. And it's opening up because the leading coefficient is positive. So all the y values are going to be greater than or equal to 6. So your x value of your vertex goes with the axis of symmetry. Your y value of your vertex goes with the range. Okay, so for number 2, vertex is -4, -3. Axis of symmetry is x equals -4. It's a max because it opens down. Domain is all real numbers. Range is y is less than or equal to -3 because it's like this. Okay? These two functions are in standard form. When you have a quadratic in standard form, you need to find the axis of symmetry by doing -b over 2a. -b would be 2 over 2 times -1, which is -1. So the x value of my vertex is -1. If we were to make a table of values, we would put -1 in the middle, and then we would go 2 this way and 2 this way. Then we're going to go to the graphing calculator, and we're going to type it in. Y equals -x squared minus 2x plus 3. And we're going to look at the graph. Now my window's crazy because the last problem I did had a crazy window. So we're just going to go zoom 6 on that. And then I want to look at the table. Okay. Now from this table I can fill in the table that I wrote on my paper. -3 is 0. -2 is 3. -1, 4, that's my vertex. 0, 3, 1, 0. So now I come back to this and I just plot those points. -3, 0 means left 3 up 0. -2, 3, left 2 up 3. -1, 4, 0, 3, 1, 0. Here's my parabola. And the vertex is -1, 4. And the axis of symmetry is x equals -1. That's all you have to do. This one, I would find the vertex first. -b is +4 over 2 times 3. In this case, my vertex is a fraction, 2/3. So when I look at my table of values, I'm going to have 2/3 in the middle. Well, I don't want to try to graph 2/3. That's hard. But I know that 2/3 is between 0 and 1, so then I'll just plot the points on either side of it. So again, go back to your graphing calculator. Type it in. 3x squared minus 4x plus 1. I don't even have to look at the graph, I just need the table. So I go to the table. And this is why it helps to know that your vertex is 2/3, because just looking at this table, you can't figure out where the vertex is. But because I know the vertex is 2/3, I know it's in between here and here. So I'm going to fill in my table using this. So -1 is 8, 0 is 1, I'm going to skip over 2/3 because I don't know its value. 1 is 0, 2 is 5. So if I just plot those 4 points on my paper, -1, 8, 0, 1, 1, 0, 2, 5. And I know the vertex is somewhere in here. This is a little tricky because I don't know exactly where it is. So I'm going to go back to my calculator and show you a little trick. I want to know, if I look at the graph, what the y value is when x is 2/3. Now I can look at this and I can see that it's negative a little bit, but I'm going to do second calc minimum, because this is a minimum, and I'm already to the left of it, so I can push enter, and then I need to go to the right of it. I'm going to push enter, and I want it to guess. So this is the 2/3 value that I already found algebraically, and I can see that the y value when x is 2/3 is -1/3. So if I go back to my sheet, 2/3 has a value of -1/3, which now makes my graph make a lot more sense because my vertex is down here. So it's a super skinny parabola, which that 3 told us. We knew it was a super skinny parabola. Do you need to write any of these in vertex form? I don't see that on here, and that is on your test, so let's talk about it. So if you're watching this video, you're getting a little bonus help here. Sometimes it's going to say, take your standard form equation and write it in vertex form. And if you recall, the vertex form of a quadratic is a times x minus h squared plus k. Well, the a is given. So right here, it's -1. X minus, and the x value of my vertex here is -1. So I'm going to make this a +1 because it's minus -1. And the y value of my vertex is 4. So I'm going to go +4. That's how you write the vertex form of this standard equation. And this is on your test, so make sure you know how to do it. We also had a huge quiz on it that a lot of people didn't understand, so make sure you know what you're doing. Okay, graphing calculator. I'm only going to show you one of these because we have done this 100,000 times. And number 7 is actually pretty tricky because the 2 zeros are really close together. So don't worry about that. I'm going to show you number 8. -3x squared minus 2x plus 7. Let's hope that that crosses the x-axis. -3x, oh, let's clear that other one out of there. -3x squared minus 2x plus 7. Should, because the y-intercept is 7. Okay, wants me to solve the equation. That means find the roots, find the zeros, find the solutions. Those are all the same thing. So second calc, 0. I'm going to find the left-hand one first. So I keep pushing the left arrow to get to the left of the 0. The 0 is here. So to the left of it is down here. I push enter. Now I'm going to go to the right of it. I'm going to push enter again. I'm going to push enter again. One of my solutions is -1.8968 negative. I don't care that y is 0. That's the whole point of finding a solution. I know y equals 0. I'm finding where y equals 0. So all I want are the x values. Go to the left of it again, push enter, go to the right. Again, now I'm finding the other 0, so I have to go to the right of it, enter, and enter again. The other 0 is x equals 1.2301. So those are your 2 answers, and that's how you found it. Make sure you know how to do this on the calculator. The only tricky part is making sure that it equals 0. Now these ones already equaled 0. Sometimes you might have to move something around so that it equals 0. But once it equals 0, you just type it in the calculator, left bound, right bound, guess. All right, this doesn't say whether I should factor or use the quadratic formula. I do know that I can't graph because it has to be in simplest radical form. Graphs are going to give me decimals. So I'm going to use the quadratic formula because it's really important that you know how to do that. I write it down every time, and then I plug in negative b was going to be +2, plus or minus the square root of 4 minus 4 times 2 times 5 all over 2 times 2. 2 plus or minus the square root. This is going to be a negative number, so this is going to have an imaginary solution. What's going on? What's going on? Let's see, this is 4 minus 40, negative 36, so I'm going to say no real solution. And if you want to, you can check it on the calculator and you'll notice that this parabola never crosses the x-axis. Over here, I'm not going to write the formula again because I just wrote it here, but I am going to say that a is 3, b is negative 2, c is negative 4. So x equals 2 plus or minus the square root of 4. Remember, I square the b in my head. This number is always positive. Minus 4 times 3 times negative 4 all over 2 times 3. 12, 48 plus 4 is 52 all over 6. Square root of 52, let's break it down. Well, I know that, well, I don't really know that. I know that 2 goes into it 26 times. So 2 root 13. So now I have a 2, and a 6. I'm going to divide those three numbers by 2, and I'm going to be left with 1 plus or minus 1 root 13 all over 3. Now I didn't have to write this 1 here, but I just did it so that you would understand. Okay? Great. Write the equation in standard form. This is hard. Okay, well the first thing I need to do is find the vertex. The vertex is negative 3, 4. And there's a point, negative 4, 3. This is vertex. The point negative 4, 3 is on the graph. So it's real easy. Well, it's not real easy. It's pretty easy to write this in vertex form. Y equals a times x plus 3 squared plus 4. But I got to figure out what this a is before I can go putting it into standard form. So that's where I use the point. I put in the y for y. I don't know a. I put in negative 4 for x. Negative 4 plus 3 is negative 1. Squared is positive 1. Times a is just a plus 4. So then minus 4 from both sides. A equals negative 1. So now when I write my standard form equation, well, first I write it in vertex form. Negative x plus 3 squared plus 4. We need to FOIL. I'm going to leave the negative out there. And I'm going to do x plus 3 times x plus 3. And then I'm going to add 4. You should be able to FOIL this by now. We've been doing it forever and ever and ever. X squared plus 6x plus 9. And then bring down the plus 4. This negative has to get distributed to everything. So negative x squared minus 6x minus 9. Bring down the plus 4. Combine like terms. There's your answer. Okay. This is exactly what I just did up here. I know the vertex, so it's y equals a times x minus 3 squared plus 4. I know a point, so I put in 8 for y, 5 for x, and solve for a. 5 minus 3 is 2, squared is 4, so I have 8 equals 4a plus 4, minus 4 from both sides, so 4 equals 4a, and divide by 4. A equals 1. So the vertex form is y equals 1, which I didn't have to write, x minus 3 squared plus 4. Now if I want to graph it, I know the vertex is at 3, 4, and it goes through the point 5, 8. And I would just type this in the calculator and get a table of values and make sure that it looks like this. If this is, just do that on the calculator. Okay? If I do every single problem, this video is going to be 3 hours long. So I'm going to skip down to the next one. Again, this is super easy because the vertex is 3, negative 5. Not x equals, the vertex. Axis of symmetry is x equals 3. And then you graph it by looking at the calculator and making, I'll do one more. Look at the calculator, make a table of values. So I go to y equals, I put in 2 parentheses, x minus 3, oops, oh my goodness, what is wrong with me? Squared, minus 5. I'm not even going to look at the graph. All I care about is the table of values. Make sure your vertex is in the middle. So I want 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 1 is 3, 2 is negative 3, 4 is negative 3, 5 is 3. So then I go back to my graph, and I plot 1, 3, 2, negative 3, 3, negative 5, 4, negative 3, and 5, 3. And there's my parabola. Okay, vertex here is negative 2, 3. Axis of symmetry is x equals negative 2. Solve by factoring or the quadratic formula. I'm going to do a little bit of both, so you can see. Again, I'm not going to solve all of them. We don't have time, but this factors into x plus 4, x minus 4. So your roots are x equals 4 and negative 4. If you did the quadratic formula on this, your b would be 0. So you would have x equals 0 plus or minus the square root of 0 minus 4 times 1 times negative 16 all over 2. Well, 4 times 16 is 64. So you'd have plus or minus the square root of 64 over 2. Hopefully you know that this is 8. And 8 divided by 2 is 4. So you have positive 4, negative 4, which is exactly what we got when we factored. I'm not going to try to factor this one because I don't think it's going to factor nicely because the only numbers that go into 11 are 1 and 11. So I'm going to use the quadratic formula here. A is 2, B is negative 3, C is negative 11. X equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So x equals 3 plus or minus the square root of 9. Again, don't trust the calculator to square that. Just do it. It's always positive. Minus 4 times 2 times negative 11 all over 2 times 2. 88 plus 9 is 97. So 3 plus or minus the square root of 97 all over 4. Now let's talk about how we would do this on a calculator. A lot of people like to push the square root sign. The problem is if I do all of this stuff under the square root, if I do this whole part and I push a square root, it's going to give me a decimal. I don't want a decimal. I want simplest radical form. So all I'm going to type in is what's under the radical. 9 minus 4 times 2 times negative 11. And that's where I get the 97. Oh, 187. What did I do? Oh, I did 99. Oh, geez. Here's what I can do. Second entry, and then go over to the other 9 and delete it. I don't have much patience. Can you tell? Okay. Now it should have sent me 97. Okay? So that's how I did that. Don't type the square root because it's going to take the square root of 97, which is 9 point something, and we don't want that. We want it in simplest radical form. Now, can I simplify 97? Well, I don't really know if anything goes into 97, and I'm going to guess that it doesn't. I know 3 doesn't go into it because 9 plus 7 is 16, and 3 doesn't go into 16. I know 9 doesn't go into it for the same reason. This is it. This is your final answer. Simplest radical form. Oh, except it says round to the nearest hundredth. So now what I need to do is go to the calculator and do alpha y equals 3 plus square root of 97 over 4. Here's one of my answers. Then I do it again. Alpha y equals, enter, 3 minus the square root of 97 all over 4. There is the other one of my answers. If it says simplest radical form, your answer is 3 plus or minus root 97 over 4. If it says to the nearest hundredth, you have to do this in 2 decimal places. So 3.21, negative 1.71. You have to know the difference between simplest radical form and round to the nearest hundredth. This one factors into x plus 5 times x minus 2. X equals negative 5 and 2. This one I would take out a GCF of 3 and I'd be left with x squared plus 16 equals 0. Now if you think about drawing the t here, you would say 3 equals 0. Well, that can't happen. Or x squared plus 16 equals 0. But if you solve this equation, you get x squared equals negative 16 and x equals plus or minus the square root of negative 16, which can't happen. No real solution. If you look at this graph, this parabola never crosses the x-axis. Okay, I'm skipping down. Write these in vertex form. This is super easy. So you have to do negative b over 2a, which in this case is negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. Then you plug in negative 2 for x, and you get 4 plus 4 times negative 2 minus 7. Let's talk about how to plug that in the calculator. I would do negative 2 stow x, enter. So now I'm plugging in negative 2 for x, and then I just type x squared plus 4x minus 7. And I get the y value of negative 11. That's the y value of my vertex. So the x value of my vertex is negative 2. The y value is negative 11. The a value is just 1 because the number in front of x squared is 1. So I have 1 parentheses x plus 2 because it's the opposite minus 11. That's all you do. Let's do it again. Negative b over 2a is negative 4 over 2 times negative 1, which is negative 4 over negative 2, positive 2. If I want to plug in positive 2, I'm going to go 2 stow x, enter, and I'll type in negative x squared plus 4x minus 1, enter. So I get 3 as my y value of my vertex there. So the vertex is 2, 3. The a value is negative 1, so I do y equals negative x minus 2 squared plus 3. That's it. Solve by factoring. I'm just going to do the hard ones because you guys are pretty good with the easy ones, but the hard ones get you. So this one, again, before you can factor, you have to make it equal 0. So you have to subtract the x, subtract the 4. Then, 2 sets of parentheses because there's no GCF. The only way to get 3x squared is 3x and x. I have 2 options for 4. I can either do 2 and 2, or 1 and 4, or 4 and 1. So I have 3 choices. I'm going to start with 2 and 2. My outside is 6. My inside is 2. That does not get me negative 1, so that doesn't work. I'm going to try 1 here, 4 here. My outside is 3. My inside is 4. That'll get me a 1, but I need the 4 to be negative and the 1 to be positive so that I have a positive 3 minus 4 gets me negative 1. And negative 4 times positive 1 gets me the negative 4. Draw the t. 3x minus 4 equals 0. Add 4. 3x equals 4. Divide by 3. X equals 4/3. And x equals negative 1. Got to be able to do that, guys. This one got a lot of people on the quiz too. 3x squared, I'm going to minus 24x plus 45 equals 0. Take out a 3. Okay, so now I have 3 times x and x is how I get x squared. 5 and 3 minus 5 minus 3 gives me negative 8. And negative 5 times negative 3 gives me positive 15. Draw your t. 3 can't equal 0, so I don't worry about that. X equals 5, x equals 3. These ones got you too. So 7x squared minus 21x equals 0. Factor out a 7x. Well, now I have 2 numbers that multiply to 0, either 7x or x minus 3. Well, if x is 0, then 7x is 0. So your answers are 0 and 3. Have to be able to do that. I can give you more practice on that if you want. Just come see me. Okay, solve by graphing. I've done that way too many times. I'll do one of these, number 37. You have to be able to solve by graphing by now. The calculator does everything for you. The only thing I have to do is make it equal 0. So I'm going to add 2x and minus 6. So I have 4x squared, 3x plus 2x plus 5x minus 6 equals 0. That's what I'm typing in. 4x squared plus 5x minus 6. 4x squared plus 5x minus 6. I need to know where it crosses the x-axis. Second, calc 0. I'm going to find the left-hand one first, so I have to go to the left of it. What happened? Second, calc 0. Go to the left of it. Enter. Go to the right of it. Of it, I'm saying the 0, this point right here. That's what I'm saying. Go to the left of it, go to the right of it. Negative 2 is your first root. Do it again. Go to the left of the other root. Go to the right of the other root. 0.75 is my other root. So negative 2 and 3/4. Okay, that's everything that's on your test. Study hard, ask lots of questions. How do I stop recording?